One of the most hyped, talked about animes of 2019, Beastars, is finally here on Netflix, and I'm here to give you my review on it. Stay tuned.
Carnivores are all the same in nature. I'm tired of running.
You should just take me. I don't care anymore.
What is going on, guys? My name is DJ Milez, and I'm here to review Beastars. And before we begin with this review, if you can go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel for more anime content down the road. Do not worry, this will be a spoiler-free review. Right now, let's go ahead and give you the premise for those of you who have never seen or who have never heard of this show. Based on the popular manga series, Beastars takes place in a modern, civilized, anthropomorphic world where animals have a cultural divide between carnivores and herbivores. Legoshi, a large gray wolf, is a quiet and timid student of Charrington Academy, tries to solve the mystery of one of his fellow school drama club members who was brutally murdered and devoured one night by a carnivore. While trying to solve the mystery one night, he encounters Haru, a small white dwarf rabbit, and begins to develop complex feelings for her. And now, here we go. Now with the premise out of the way, I mean, it's pretty much the modern day furry Romeo and Juliet type story, but wow, is this show just so amazing because these characters are so complex. A lot of people immediately upon viewing are probably going to look at this and say, oh, so it's like Zootopia? Sure, I guess in the way how it's like animals trying to live in a civilized human society, right? But I guess really the thing I'm gonna have all of you just kind of sit and think about for 2 seconds is Zootopia were people acting as animals. In Beastars, the animals are people. Let that sink in for just a second, because this is probably one of the most realistic stories of just character and emotional human drama that I have seen in a long time, and it really excels in it through these metaphors that we see with the animals in the show. Now, granted, sure, I don't think I can relate with the herbivore being scared and frightened on how I might be devoured by a carnivore, but metaphorically speaking, how many of you are constantly in fear of being devoured by the obstacles life throws at you, or being devoured by a coworker, being in a toxic relationship, trying to fight the demons that you have within yourselves? These are the issues that is tackled amongst Beastars, and again, I think they do it in such a great job. Let's go ahead and talk about the characters for a second, because Legoshi, who is our protagonist in this story, he's a very shy and timid wolf. In this world where the carnivores basically run the show, or they can run the show, because they live in this modern civil society, it's pretty much shunned that the carnivores can't really show their fangs because it's just not a good look for society, right? So here we have Legoshi, where he comes into conflict of trying to fit in with society, but also trying to deal with the demons of what it could be like to live a real life, to be a wolf, right? And we see this encounter when he meets Haru for the first time, where he knows, oh yeah, I smell a rabbit, I want to eat a rabbit. But wait a minute, I think I may also have a crush on her. This is weird. And I like how it takes place in a high school settings, because high school, I don't know about you, but I think many of us can relate. High school is probably one of the most conflicted times in our lives while you're trying to figure out identity, a sense of duty, responsibility, and so forth. And that's why I think a lot of people can relate to Legoshi, although he's bashfully timid at times and almost frustrating to the point of, dude, just be confident and be yourself, right? I like that inner turmoil he wrestles with himself. And because he's in a drama club, we see how that's even explored further, but we'll get to that in a second, because we see some of the other characters. As I mentioned, Haru's a rabbit, because society looks at her as someone frail and weak and just maybe on the sweeter sides of things. She deals with how society treats her as a plea for validation. And what does she use to get that validation? Well, that goes into spoiler territory, but you know, what's the thing that rabbits are just known for, or what's an expression we like to say with the rabbits, right? So I'll leave it at that. But then we have other characters such as Louis, who is a herbivore, and he's very calm and collected, and he acts very tough, because in a world full, again, of carnivores where they just have more brute force and physical strength, he has to come into conflict of knowing that no matter how tough he can act on the outside, at the end of the day, if a carnivore wanted to come and devour him or really press their alpha maleness on him, he can't really do anything about it because he's a deer. And we actually see that in one of the best moments of this show in episode 3, where Louis is also part of the drama club. And when he's about to perform on stage for everyone, there's this inner monologue, which is by far one of my favorite moments in the entire show, which just speaks volume with his character and how you see this calm, collected person has a very troubled past. As the show continues and you see that explored in later episodes, you actually really sympathize with them. I think one of the things Beastars really shines is how well, when you figure out the backstories of a lot of these characters and why they tick, it isn't just a simple answer. It's actually really complex. Beastars is also a 2D, 3D animation where we see a lot of the characters are 3D models, and I think for some people they might feel it's a bit jaggy at times, but if any of you have watched Dorohedoro and other anime I'm currently reviewing right now, that seems a little blocky. There's times where I watch Beastars where yes, the 3D animation looks a bit blocky, but the smooth 2D backgrounds really complement the 3D animation happening with the characters that we see. I think it really shines. It looks pretty good a lot of the times, but I know some people might complain about that, so something I just wanted to mention. The score. It must be said with Beastars, this score is one of the best scores I've heard in any anime in a very long time. It's this jazzy, upbeat, swinging motion where all I want to do is dance, even in the background when something nonchalant is happening and they just throw in that cool jazz music. I can't help but compliment the show. The opening sequence, I know a lot of people, when you watch Netflix or any series that you're just used to watching, you hear the opening sequence one time, maybe 2 times, and you're like, yeah, I can skip this. I couldn't skip this. Every time I watched an episode of Beastars, you know how Netflix is like, do you want to skip the intro? Nah, motherfucker, I want to watch the full thing because the song is so good. And it has to be praised, for me anyway, that this opening sequence is so well done. We see the stop motion animation between Legoshi and Haru and how it goes from like being fretful at night to being cheerful and jovial dancing in the daytime to going back to night acting as Legoshi's inner demons, right? Oh my god, it is so good. And although it came out in 2019, this opening, because I heard it in March of 2020, it is going head to head with the Keep Your Hands Off the Izoken opening sequence as best opening anime sequence of 2020. I cannot wait to do that video at the end of the year. Some of the best moments in this show, as I mentioned previously in this review, is all the inner conflicts a lot of these characters have and how they kind of represent and expose that through being in a drama club. Louis' inner monologue in episode 3 before he stars in the play that they're in, one of the best moments ever. And then in a Barry-esque moment with Legoshi and another carnivore in episode 4, where they're trying to repress themselves in this herbivore society, the carnivores unleash and they throw a lot of fierce animosity towards one another. And one of the most tense moments in the show where I got nothing but goosebumps watching it. And again, I know this came out in 2019, but when I talk about top 10 2020 anime moments, because I saw this in 2020, I am definitely highlighting this. People, it's just so good. So let's just go ahead and give my final thoughts. This is without a doubt one of the best animes I have come across in a long time. Even if you do not watch anime and you aren't a fan of anime, I would say strongly check this out. You'll know right away in the pilot episode, which is about 20 minutes, whether or not you'll like it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But for those of you who have stayed with me up until now, I highly recommend checking it out. So please go ahead and watch it. And now let's just go ahead and talk about why I compared it as a nominee with the other powerful contenders of last year, right? We have Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is a coming-of-age story where the main protagonist acts as a supporting character for the quote-unquote antagonist in a Game of Thrones political drama-esque story. Wow, I can see why that's a nominee for Anime of the Year. Then we have The Promised Neverland, where it's a psychological thriller with 3 kids stuck in an orphanage, and if I say anything else, that goes into super spoiler territory. And that premise also blew me away. We also have here Demon Slayer, a shonen anime with all the typical shonen tropes, but the story and the animation was absolutely breathtaking, and you can see why that was also a contender for anime of the year. And now with Beastars into the fray of this, wow, let me go ahead and say Vinland Saga still stood to me as anime of the year, but if I saw Beastars late back in 2019, yeah, the competition would have been much more conflicting then. I can see how a modern furry date tale of Romeo and Juliet doesn't sound that exciting or thrilling, but when you see how human a lot of these characters are, you're gonna come to find out that they're probably some of the most relatable characters that you have come across in any medium in a long time. So that is my review of Beastars. I absolutely loved it. If I had to rate it, this is definitely a 9.5 out of 10. I cannot wait until season 2 comes out, and season 2 is coming out in August of 2020. And listen, fuck you, Netflix. I am not waiting for you to release this in 2021. I am going to be reviewing it alongside with all the other anime YouTubers out there. So for people who are excited about my review, look out for that. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel for more anime content, and let me know what were some of your favorite moments of Beastars if you have watched it. My name is DJ Milez, and as I always say, to be continued, take care.